And we live, 91.
Back again.
Yep.
How's it going, pal?
Good and you.
Cool, man.
Good week
Yeah.
so far.
You've had a lucky week.
I have. Chat about that later, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, nice to be here again. Thanks for joining me, as always. Should we introduce ourselves formally again if there are any new people watching? Brian Rosevier.
And Ryan Parrock.
That's it.
Yep.
So a bit to talk about today, as always. But yeah, what I want to start at the beginning here, bit of a shout out to some of the photographers that took pictures of that Stellenbosch air show.
Oh, yeah. Gee whiz.
Hey?
They did an impeccable job of actually just bringing the show out to everyone.
Really good. I saw it on Fly Africa. So Justin DeRook is the one I saw, and then the other guy, Reno Sneyman. So check them out. Very, very cool aviation photos, actually.
Incredible. I actually saw last night, I think it was Ethel France. They had compiled a sort of 2-minute video clip of the air show the whole weekend. Yes, man, it gave me goosebumps because it was like so cool to see the air show circuit back up and running, back to the way it was.
It's about time, man.
100%.
No, very cool. And yeah, that's the one bit. And then I want to start the show with a very, very cool bit of news. You obviously saw Jonno Collins's post.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you take it away because I know this is actually an important one for you.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, what happened with Jonno?
Well, yeah, I think it was last Friday afternoon. I was scrolling through Facebook and saw the message pop up, old Jonno Collins, with a picture of him standing in front of a 737 engine holding his license and his medical certificate in his hand.
Well done, Jonno.
Got it back. I mean, wow, so I could not be happier for that guy. I mean, what a fight to get through that. And again, it's just such a sheer sign of what mindset and positivity and sticking it out can do to actually get that back. Because what an achievement.
That's what it was. It was just a
amazing
positive mindset, and he went and did it. So 2 years, 1 month, and 14 days ago, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And then his career as an airline pilot, was prematurely ended. So as he says in his post, there was no QRH to follow. This was like, you need to deal with this yourself. So very, very cool. And he took the bull by the horn. So he didn't just sit there and say, well, I hope they change the law. He actually went out and made it happen.
Yeah.
So he went around the world and saw what everyone else was doing, and then he went and educated our CIA. And so he appealed it. He put the graft in, and then he eventually got it, from what I understand, taken from a life ban to a 1 year sort of. They'll review it.
Yeah.
And then that 1 year passed, and then the other day it's now reinstated. He can fly again.
Yeah.
So very, very cool, man. It's got a class 1 medical.
Yeah, it's incredible. Again, super congratulations to Jonno. Well done on sticking it out and for persevering and actually just proving the world wrong. I mean, you've really done something phenomenal here. And so very, very, very proud of him.
Yeah, I wonder, that process must have been quite complicated for him. I mean, would have to go on CARCOM route and
yeah, the whole stack. But we did chat to Jonno in the week. We've been messaging each other, and we're going to try and get him on the show, and maybe he can tell us a bit more about the whole ordeal and the process, because we had him on the show sometime last year after I think everything was fairly new to him. And it'll be great to catch up with him in person and hear his whole story.
Yeah.
And
you can pick up Jonno's original podcast with us. It's available there, so go check out that. That was actually a cool show.
It was.
But we're going to get Jonno back for sure. Lufthansa Technical Maintenance International may now perform maintenance again. And Comair have moved their maintenance back to Lufthansa. Correct?
Did you hear what happened there last weekend?
Well, yeah, no, let's talk about it.
Okay. So it sounds like in the news Friday night allegedly, SAA Technical was given a grounding.
Yeah.
But it was on Friday evening, so obviously Friday night there was panic stations, and then all of a sudden Saturday morning, and I think this is while Kwame was still with SAA Technical, they were given their suspension was lifted all of a sudden on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
I mean, all in a space of about 12 hours. So where have you ever heard of that happening? And then it obviously got a bit more interesting over the weekend because we saw pictures of an SAA A340 flying into Waterkloof and then jetting off with the president to Dubai for some.
There was a global summit there.
Yeah. So they obviously quickly realized, listen,
you better reinstate that. Yeah.
So what happened there?
But Kwame, I mean, how much more do you want to throw at these guys? I mean, they shift everything across to SAA Technical, then SAA Technical takes a hit, and but anyway, it turned out okay in the end. And Lufthansa have sorted out their issues, so they're back with back with Lufthansa.
That's good for them, and glad to see they managed to get it right, and hopefully there'll be no more speed bumps.
No, I think this is it now. There was some reporting earlier about Cathay having a flap issue going into Port Elizabeth.
I didn't see that.
Not that that's what it's called, but we'll call it that anyway.
Yeah.
That was earlier today, I think, but I don't know too much about that. Yeah. We'll no doubt get some gen. AT&S are putting up their fees.
Yeah.
You know what that means for ticket prices.
It's going to just have a ripple effect right throughout the industry. Unfortunately, it just affects everyone on top of the already exorbitant fuel price increases. Unfortunately, the end user is just going to get impacted a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's gonna have a knock-on effect, no doubt about that.
But flying still beats driving.
Oh yeah, no question about it. Still a lot of people haven't flown since this pandemic started. Sort of way back, like people are.
Can I fess up?
You haven't, eh?
I haven't flown anywhere. The first time I left this province was 2 weeks ago when I drove down to Margate for a holiday. But I haven't actually been on an aeroplane since the last time I actually physically flew one.
Yeah.
But redonk.
L comments here, Cathay on News 24 turned out to be a reset indication issue. All sorted. Good
awesome.
News.
Good. Yeah.
I thought for a minute those 400s were getting tied, but obviously not. Another little extra topic. Have you noticed on social media how good Airlink's advertising is lately?
Yeah.
Airlink are really sharp with their advertising. They almost, I've seen an advert for almost, I know they do a hell of a lot of flights, but almost every destination they visit has got a little advert there. And I think it's really good. So shout out to whoever is looking after the advertising for Airlink. Good job, because it's really good.
No, they are. They're doing a fantastic job, the advertising department. And Fly Sapphire are not far behind as well. I mean, they've also got some very good and very quirky adverts out there.
They're excellent. I took a bit of heat because last week we were talking about commerce so much. And then I said, but obviously, shout out to, Sapphire and Airlink as well. But of course, I didn't mention Seme and that.
Ooh,
took a bit of heat and Lyft.
Yeah.
So
the list is growing.
It's great. So there'll be a much bigger focus on Lyft and Seme from now on. Yeah.
It has to be. Look, while we're talking about all the airlines in South Africa, I think it's worth a mention that I've been hearing quite a lot through the grapevine lately that people are picking up jobs with the various different airlines. So for a long time, Seme was the only airline in South Africa that was employing pilots, but it sounds like Sapphire and Airlink are also on a recruitment drive at the moment, which is cool. Again, it's starting to turn that big wheel.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Andrew comments that nope, Sapphire slat skew picture out there.
Okay.
So let's see. I don't know enough about it yet, but whatever.
We'll probably catch more of the news once the show's done.
No doubt handled perfectly fine. Nigeria Air, if we shift across into Africa, and they due to make their scheduled first flight middle of 2022. There was a lot of negative press about them at the beginning. We actually mentioned them on one show, and then a lot of people contacted us to say, this is a story with them, and there was a lot of negativity around it. I tried to do as much research as I could. What was quite not alarming, but I didn't quite realize that how much the private airlines in Nigeria have been keeping that domestic market afloat. I mean, the Nigerian government, they haven't owned a national airline since 2003. So it was a while ago.
Yeah.
And then there was a joint venture between the Virgin Group and some Nigerian investors, and that was Virgin Nigeria. I don't know if you even remember that.
I do remember them, yeah.
And they then Air Nigeria took over and then flew in their own colors up until 2012. So again, at this summit in Dubai you spoke about there, Ryan, their Minister of Aviation said that it is still going to be, majority private sector owned. And the state is holding 5%. So the rest will be the private sector. So we'll see if that actually happens. But it's another airline in Nigeria. They are popping up thick and fast.
That's also not the only new airline in Nigeria. There's a Rano Airlines as well, starting up with 5 ERJ-145s.
Yep.
And it sounds like they're going to get kickstarted any day now.
Yeah.
So hell of a positive, man.
Yeah. Good news on that. That's a hell of a booming market, eh?
Yeah.
It's really phenomenal how well how big they are growing so fast. So great stuff there. And there seems to be a lot more interest in South Africans now trying to get over there. I know it's now regarded as a real opportunity area for pilots here out of work at the moment, possibly looking at contract type jobs. Quite a few expats over there, and quite a few people ask us, what do we think? We train some of the guys. They jacked up airlines. They seem to pay the guys well. We haven't found any of their crew unhappy. They all seem quite happy. So not a bad option.
No, absolutely. Yeah, there's quite a few South African guys that come through here for recurrence that we chat to lately, and when you ask them how it's going, the guys are quite upbeat about it. So as far as contract flying goes and the whole setup up there, it does sound like a pretty good gig.
I think it's a good gig.
Yeah. So are we going global?
Let's go global.
How's the impact that this whole Russia-Ukraine thing is having on the industry?
That's big.
Friends of mine that are flying cargo 747s for Asian companies, I see the routings that they're taking. It's insane. The amount of flying hours being added to these trips. It's crazy.
Tim Clark spoke at that Dubai summit, of course, and he reckons that the ramifications of this war could possibly be worse than the pandemic was if it's not sorted out quickly.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping that they come to a resolution with this thing very, very soon.
Yeah, he says, there's be a tectonic shift in the way airlines and the aviation business goes about its work. The more it goes on, the more difficult it'll become to deal with. So, Emirates are still flying to Russia. So he said they're going to carry on flying there until their owners say they mustn't. So he put that one to bed.
So one of the very few guys that haven't climbed on the sanctions bandwagon.
Yeah, they haven't.
Them and the American astronaut that needed a ride home from the International Space Station yesterday. Couldn't exactly tell the guys, look, I'm not riding back in your Russian spacecraft.
Yeah. So sanctions didn't apply.
It's quite funny.
Yeah. Cathay, they've now got the longest flight title. So their route between Hong Kong and JFK is now the longest route in the world. That's obviously to avoid that Russian airspace you're speaking about. 10,326 miles, 10% longer than Singapore's flight from or to New York, which currently clocks in at a world's longest 9,537 miles. So if you feel like a A350 1000 trip, this 17-hour journey is for you.
Yeah,
That's proper, eh?
That's a long time in an aluminium tube, man.
17 hours. That's cooking, man.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Oh.
On an A350 1000. Yeah. And as you said, you can't fly through that airspace, so you're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah.
Some of the carriers have been hit quite badly with it.
Yeah, I mean, just the routing and the planning and the usual rigmarole that goes around operating like it. It's just got to be a hectic for the operational staff as well.
That's wild.
But yeah.
JetBlue, they've implored its flight attendants to show up for work, please. So
not only them, United Airlines as well, allowing their unvaccinated employees
to come back
to rejoin the airline.
Okay.
So, what's that tell you?
Yeah. So they're in the midst of new flight, hiring new flight attendants. 5,000 more employees in New York. They're looking at. It's the largest hiring push in the carrier's history for JetBlue. It's massive. I mean, and that's all to get. It's not to get back to where they were. They've actually pushed beyond where they were. So it's a 50% increase in what they're trying to achieve. It's massive.
We actually got sent a very interesting article from Montreal correspondent Al McCordy yesterday from the Flying Magazine, which is titled "Where Have All the Pilots Gone?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting read because they say that airlines at the moment can't find pilots at the regional level.
Mm-hmm.
So look, we've spoken about this week on week. It's no surprise, not old news that the States is running short on crew. It's really cool that we're speaking about this a lot earlier than what we anticipated in the beginning. But
it's happened quite fast.
We got guys phoning now also asking like, shucks, I might have an opportunity to go and learn how to fly in the States. And, should I, shouldn't I? And saying, well, if there's a gap, take it.
It's quite a hard one to give advice on.
Look,
I don't know what people watching think there, but it's Stuvia Russell. I was chatting with him the other day, and the pilot shortage. You talk about it, and it's evident. It's there. You read the articles, you hear the news. It is there, and some carriers have very specific needs to get pilots flying, like yesterday.
Yeah,
but it hasn't filtered here, certainly to South Africa, where this demand is allowing guys to flock overseas and move to countries of their choice and carry on operating heavy metal, has it?
Yeah, look, I think the difficulty comes in with, green card issues and visas, etc., and the amount of time that it takes to obtain those, as well as the cost involved.
So it's not a pilot shortage; it's a pilot with the right passport shortage.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's
certainly not a shortage here in South Africa at the moment, is there?
Of skilled, experienced pilots that are, well qualified at regional level and heavy metal. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, where this lands, if they do start opening it up a bit more for us.
I'm going back to Emirates.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year we spoke, and I was quite passionate about the narrow body side, narrow body aircraft making a massive comeback.
Yeah, you kind of
hit
wore that hard.
I did hit it hard, and now Emirates have kind of cut that down.
Yeah.
And the reason it's cut down is because of slot availability at airports. So Tim Clark says that's why the A380s are flying. That's why they're going to become even more valuable. Is because there's no slots. Man. So when you have one, you can't waste it on an A321 XLR or whatever. You better pack it full of as many people as you can on the 380 because it's not about frequency. There are not enough slots.
Slot times. It's crazy, hey? And there was a stage where we thought we'd never see an A380 flying ever again.
Yeah, I mean, Cathay just brought 4 back.
Yeah.
Emirates, they operating, it accounts for the majority of their profit. The passengers love it. Yeah. And they adamant they're going to refurbish them. They're going to keep them in the air, and
flipping cool, man. 100%.
That's good for me.
Yeah.
So that slot availability, obviously, big one. London Heathrow, Hong Kong is also a problem. Sao Paulo and Sydney. So slot availability will be the name of the game.
Oh, wouldn't
going
have thought
forward.
that would
I
have
would
been the
not have
case a
thought that.
couple of months ago. It's
I mean, we were headbanging away on that, or I was on the narrow body side. But you see how quickly things can change.
yeah. Well, that's it's what keeps us entertained in this industry is how fluid it is, and you know, it gives us the content we need. We'll never run out of stuff to talk about as long as these things pop up, man.
So as long as governments do not invest in airports to create more capabilities, the slot issue is going to become far more acute in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's not that easy to build an airport. It takes a long time. There's all sorts of approvals and things that has to happen. I mean, we were privy to seeing that in Berlin, in our training there over the years. That Schönefeld Airport was going up and up and up, way back before we even started.
Yeah, we were there in 2010, and it was like, no,
I think the airport had been finished already. I mean, it was just a few things that had to be done, but
and it was only opened like recently, a year ago, something like that.
Yeah. So they are not going to. Let's face it, unless it's in a place like Dubai, I suppose it goes up a hell of a lot quicker.
Yeah, 3 weeks or something. Like
that airport in Dubai, what's it called? Dubai World or something like that. That's going to be an Emirates airport. That's obviously slow on the cards, I assume.
I believe so. Yeah, I read the other day that Dubai is also they're running into a bit of trouble now because they're revamping one of their runways. They got a runway closure. I'll stand to correction. I mean, I haven't read NOTAMs in a while, but that's creating a bit of havoc, with frequencies and slots as well. I mean, imagine a runway closure at an airport like Dubai. It's going to mess with the schedule quite badly.
That's nuts. Andrea says DWC.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we're certainly not going to get a new airport in South Africa anytime soon. And so the value, the slots that you hold, they're going to go up and up in value, a little bit like Bitcoin is doing at the moment.
Yeah, we might not get a new airport, but there's a crowd that's trying to start a new airports company.
No, Ryan, we're not going to go down this route again. Yeah,
I just find it fascinating.
Yeah,
keeps popping up.
Yeah. Some other news that did find the other black box in that China accident.
Yeah.
So,
sure. Hopefully there'll be some feedback on what actually caused that, because I think that's still got everyone flummoxed. Like what would cause an airplane like that to just come down in such a fashion? It's got everyone by the short and curlies.
It even had the ADS-B computer, I think, a bit flummoxed with how it was generating the data.
Yeah.
Because it shoots out in sort of 1 second signals, apparently, and the rate of change was so much, it was quite difficult to piece that stuff together. At first, it looked like a malfunction, but there was electricity going through to that piece of equipment, and but we'll wait for that news to come out. Did the NTSB guys from the States manage to get into China? Because last week they were saying they weren't 100% sure, because they would have to go to China, quarantine at Andrew Evans's house there, and then only be allowed to go. And then they've lost 2 weeks of the investigation. It's a little bit sort of fruitless. So I wonder if they were.
Okay, that was mostly done by the Chinese authorities. So
yeah, but the manufacturer normally is part of it. So anyway,
interesting.
Have you ever felt like flying a 757?
I could dig that.
Yeah. What if I told you you can't fly a 757, but the next best thing, a Tupolevs Tu-204. You see the
how's that possible?
Yeah, the Russian that production line is still open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the one that is. I stand corrected, but that's the one is like it's a 757 knockoff.
Okay.
And there's obviously a bit of a risk there that they run out of aircraft. So that production line is now back in full swing.
Okay.
And they're going to be producing these aircraft. They weren't very popular. I mean, the maiden flight was 33 years ago.
To be added to the fleet of all the stolen, 500 and something odd airplanes that are being re-registered in Russia.
Yeah, it's but interestingly with this, that and the Illusion 96, those production lines, they never closed them. It's not like the 737-200. They obviously close that line and then they use it to this actually kept going.
Crazy, man.
People still employed there.
She was.
And luckily, they're going to have to produce a few more aircraft. But yeah, I found that quite interesting.
On the topic of production lines closing, the last Learjet was produced just a couple of weeks ago.
That was my next story.
Yeah, quite sad because it's a legacy area, and sad to see that being brought to an end. But at least there'll still be a couple flying for a good couple of years.
Yeah. So that was this week, the last one. 60 years of production to a close. More than 3,000 aircraft, of which 2,000 remain in service. So I never flew a Lear.
No, the closest I got was a citation and a Hawker 125. Would have been cool to give one of those a bash. So
yeah. So that's definitely an end of an era. What was your favorite? That Lear 23 is still the.
Yeah, I know. It was a pocket rocket.
That was the business.
I took a ride. I've been in a Lear a couple of times in a 23, 24, and 25, and man, I tell you, it's
yeah, that's amazing. It took to the skies on the 7th of October, 1963.
Yeah, I once had a pal who was flying a 25 out of Lanseria, and he did a V2 climb out of Lanseria just because he could.
Yeah,
and I never forget that. That was just like it was cool, man.
Yeah, it just looks right. If an aircraft looks right, it goes right. Should we get to our story of the week? Unless you've got anything else there that you want to.
No, look, I'll slot in.
All right. Well, this one is a little bit different because it's we're going to have to speak a bit more candidly, open about it. Ryan and I have been trying our hardest to implement a paperless system here with the training at Samero. So right from signing in to completing your training, we're trying to go the full sort of real modern paperless way.
Yeah.
And it's been ongoing project for quite a while. There's been lots of backwards and forwards with using different cloud servers and trying different sort of workflow companies. We've settled on a company now, and we're working quite closely with them to produce what we want. And just so happened this week, Ron, that there's a lot of articles out there about digitization and connecting airlines in the current state. And basically it's a survival mechanism right now to a point. Okay, so I'm quite interested to see where people lie on this one, because there is a stark divide here between some of the instructors and the staff on what they actually want. I mean, Ryan and I are quite keen to take it this digital route, and others are vehemently opposed to it. So we're under quite a bit of pressure to produce a really good product that actually works.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the time, people make these things and they don't quite work as they should. So fingers crossed that it does. But anyway, let's go back to aviation. What they're saying now is that the business models, the sustainability going forward is, and retaining of your passengers, giving them connections in flight. I mean, so that they can access the web and all the rest is so important now. The product is, I'm not saying useless without it, but you're not competing without it. So that's the one thing. The other thing is it can drive efficiencies with weather. The predictions of weather up ahead. You can plot courses ahead of time, all these sorts of things. Now, there's an endless amount of things out there, and you can subscribe and you can get all the data that you want. And it's been available for a while, but now it's getting to the point where the crossovers actually happened. If you're not using the data available, you're actually throwing money down the toilet. And with the margins being so small, the airlines can't actually afford it. How much fuel to take, all this stuff. Someone commented on Fly Africa as well. A guy I used to fly with, actually talking about Emirates and their fuel calculations based on data, previous data, and they actually use that, and it's incredibly accurate. So where do you lie on this, Ryan? I mean, I know you and I are quite keen on producing something that is that we're proud of, but it's not a given that everyone in the aviation industry is keen for this sort of digitization to happen. In fact, we are probably quite a few steps behind the rest of the industries. It's still quite conservative on this end.
No, exactly. Look, I mean, my thoughts on digitization, as you know, it's I'm all for it because I can see the benefits. I mean, if you're just talking about paper, a boarding pass, for instance, for me, the greatest invention was a digital boarding pass because it's always such a stress. You lose that little stub, and then all of a sudden it means you can't get on an airplane.
So when you're at the counter there, you don't ask the check-in staff to please print a boarding pass for you.
Negative,
because that still happens.
Yeah, I know. Look, everything's it's all done, and it's controllable. You can't lose data. The worst thing that could happen is your device's battery goes flat, but then you back it up with a battery bank and stuff like that. But no, the speed at which things are happening and or what you can do with it's just unreal. And it's quite funny. We were joking earlier. I mean, 5 years ago, we used to get excited about getting our rocks off and getting on our motorbikes and going for a couple of dozen beers. Now we like kids in a toy shop when we get something right on a form.
So we it's not, but we haven't slam dunked it yet.
No,
we still a way behind. But anyway, this collaboration that's going on with these tech companies in the air is quite remarkable. The ability to speak to pilots from the ground. They might be dealing with a medical emergency, and the information that can be given to the pilots about the medical emergency, and B, options, where to go. A lot of the time up there, you know what it's like when you got to make a decision. You actually feel very much alone in that space. You can't just pick up the phone and say, hey Dad, what do you think here? Because you've got to make that decision. And that's been, I mean, decision making in aviation is part and parcel, probably one of the biggest things, next to skills. I mean, decision making is so critical. Is having all this information being sent to the pilots, is that going to take away from the ability to make a decision? Because is the pilot the one going to be making the decision, or is the decision made for you by someone sitting on the ground?
Well, that's an interesting topic because, again, how much information is too much information? You're asking like operations, for instance, to weigh in on your decision. They're going to obviously give you the information that suits them best, I don't know. That's up for debate. I mean, it'd probably be better to hear from some of our more current and active flying mates on where they think. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure the guys that are operating out now are actually experiencing this. So, I don't know. I almost feel like I've been out of the game a bit now to...
Yeah, so do you feel like you're getting too much information where you just let me do my job? Or is it a help? I suppose for a brand new captain or something, it's a huge help.
Yeah, look, that's out to the jury, man. I think sometimes it could be too much information, but then again, I don't know, maybe not.
Okay, so we trying to go the digital route here, and we think that's the right way. However, do you see what happened with the Russian CIA, basically?
Yeah. What a story. The Russians. They keep landing in it, man.
So they had a cyber attack there at the CIA. They lost 65 terabytes worth of data. So they've gone back to pen and paper now. Emails, everything, correspondence, gone. They've got 65 terabytes unaccounted for in this cyber attack. They're not getting it back. So that's obviously the negative side of these cyber attacks. I mean, can you imagine a cyber attack? This pilot's waiting for his information on where to go and what to do, and then there's a cyber attack, and you've become accustomed to being fed this information. And now you can't.
Sorry, man. That means you've got to do a manual load sheet.
Exactly.
I know how much that sucks.
Yeah. So exactly. And it's not something you can just hand across to the first officer.
No.
I think it's a bit of an ongoing topic. That is, to be honest.
It really can go to both ends of the spectrum, man.
Yeah. So let us know what you think there. But hopefully by the time any of these viewers visit us here at Samara, we're fully paperless.
Oh, we'll be there.
We will be there.
Yeah, look, the whole journey around that, and I think that's what we've enjoyed is the challenge of this. It's been kind of cool to get into this whole thing. As tech savvy as we are, it's just added a whole new level of things that we're trying to get right and achieve, and it's been quite a challenge.
It has.
But
It's been part of the journey, I suppose. We
Yeah.
used it as a bit of a learning curve for. We've
Yeah.
used the podcast actually to try and influence what we're doing at work.
yeah,
But yeah,
the win will be the addition to the skill set when we get it right.
exciting times ahead.
100%.
I've got an aviation Brown advisory this week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
shoot.
And it's a very, very simple one. I don't mean people to be blown away by this, but this last week we've had our chairman visiting us from France here at Samero, and we're chatting a lot about the markets around the world. And my advisory is just go and watch or look at or start taking note of that Indian market.
Yeah,
When you actually look at it and you look at the numbers, it's actually quite remarkable the growth that's A, happened, and B, is predicted to happen. You know, they're also shifting out of the whole sort of pandemic phase. So there's a whole new era that's about to unfold there in India. So have a look at that market. Just, you know, maybe pick up one or two Indian aviation news stories. There's a lot of information out there on the internet, but a lot of it doesn't sort of filter through to us here. It's almost like a total separate market. We read a lot about, we know what's happening in the UAE and in the States and Canada, but that Indian market, to me, always quite quiet.
yeah.
But there's a hell of a lot happening around. The market is huge. So that's my advisory there.
Awesome, man. I've got an aviation sort of advisory as well.
Yes.
It's to clear your diaries for the 27th of May, because coming to a cinema near you, finally, is Top Gun 2.
Yeah.
The trailers have been doing the rounds this week, and I think it looks like quite an epic movie.
Yeah,
man.
and Ryan gave me, because I hadn't seen the trailer, so Ryan gave me an awesome breakdown of what's happening.
Yeah. No, look, the gist of it is it looks like old Mav gets called back in to come and not necessarily instruct or teach, but be a bit of a mentor to some young hotshots who no doubt think that, you know, they don't need some old bully pulling in.
Yeah.
And
And he does look a bit of a bully in there.
Yeah, you could check he's gained some mileage.
Yeah. But he'll argue that's the character. Yeah.
But yeah, so in the trailer you see them, I mean, all the flying stunts and all that looks really cool. I mean, Top Gun's just a timeless movie.
Yeah.
And some guys might call it corny, but I still love it. And yeah, actually in the storyline you pick up that one of these young hotshots is actually Goose's son.
Okay.
And he gets a bit punchy and cocky with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, because he's obviously miffed that Mav never looked after his old man.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
But is that here on the 27th of May?
I think
that
so.
is that out in the States on the 27th?
I assumed it's out. Yeah.
It's obviously a cinema thing. Eh?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If it's not out, they better make a plan.
Leon says, can we do a screening at Samero?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
No doubt that's going to get a lot of oaks keen on flying again. Because
I think that's what got us keen on flying in the first place. So there was a whole generation of pilots that it created.
Yeah. So check the flight schools, get another million, you know, engagements from that movie.
And then I see Iceman is like, or was the...
He becomes an admiral.
He's the admiral.
Yeah. Like a heavy.
Yeah. No, very cool. So yeah, that's coming out.
Yeah, very cool.
Worth it.
Yeah.
I got lucky this last week.
You did. You bugger.
Yeah.
Huh?
I knew I would win it. I won an NFT, Captain Alpha.
Very cool.
Selling right now for 5 ETH if anyone's interested. No, yeah, quite cool. Chuffed with that from the crypto pilot. So thanks for that, guys. I honestly think that's the first thing I've ever won. So I'm very chuffed with that.
Yeah,
and I wanted that one specific. So if you check my profile pictures changed.
Yeah.
That's my logo at the moment.
Yeah, I think they saved that one for you because you rate yourself as a bit of an alpha male. So
that's what I thought. So
no, that's it's congratulations, man. And
I was quite chuffed with that one.
You got quite a few NFTs in the catalog now, huh?
Yeah, there's quite a few. And as I said, with Bitcoin going up, it's hopefully a good investment later down the line.
Yeah. Look, we're still gonna have to do a show at some stage where we actually explain this whole NFT thing, like we've been talking about.
I still battle to explain it.
Yeah, it's quite a thing to
but
to
the crypto
relay.
pilots one, I mean, I don't want to just come here and start throwing NFTs down people's throats, but this is obviously, I mean, they've never released their identity to me because I contacted them to say, don't you want to be on the podcast? And then they said, listen, they would love to, but they're keeping their identity, to themselves. And so I still don't know who they are, but they produce these crypto NFTs, and they're all captains. And it's like a little club. So there was like a bit of a push. It was an aviation angle with something we quite interested in. So it's been quite a cool, fun project to watch.
Yeah.
And I know that they're quite happy with the results that they're getting so far. But ultimately, the aim is that these things go up in value.
Yeah.
And but our community's done quite well, because you've got one,
Jason's
Leon's got one, and
Leon.
Jason's got one.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there are still some available. So if anyone's interested in buying, go check out the Crypto Pilots on OpenSea, available over there. You wanted to give a shout out to someone that does great work.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile, again this week to give a shout out to Suzanne from CIA Services. She's helped out a stack of guys here from some era recently, as well as a lot of my mates from around the world. I can't believe in the last couple of weeks, since we used her, and then we've made a few referrals. We mentioned her on a few podcasts ago, and the guys took it and they've been using it, and it's just been such a help to all the guys around.
It was a huge help to me, let me tell you.
Yeah, look, and shame, yeah. So Suzanne does great work. She really is efficient and not overpriced by any means, and she can get your
what's it, $500 for a
and she sorts the world out for you in terms of having to deal with the CIA. And not only that, she also helps out with police clearances now, which I believe a lot of guys are having issues with, especially with contract work, all that kind of stuff. She's added that to her catalog, so well worth the mention. And if you get stuck in it, just give Suzanne a shout. Her details are in the show notes.
Yeah, well, details in there, and it's a real seamless process. You PDF your
documents
by email straight to Suzanne. She collects them. She then sends them off to the CIA, and then she deals with the CIA. Mine came back. It had the wrong address on. It had a few things missing. So she said, please check the license. So I identified there was a couple of things. She sorts it all out. You don't have to deal with them at all. It's such a pleasure. Then it came back a second time. It was all dirty. The license had like makeup on it. So she said, no, she's not accepting that. Please get us another one. Print me another one. Courier guy to the house the next day. Done.
Yeah, that's what you need, man. Half the hack of renewing your license every year is doing that whole paperwork process, and she makes it seamless, and you can just concentrate on what's important, and that's keeping the wings level in the simulator.
Exactly. Next week we got a guest on the show. Cameron Easton's going to join us.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, so he'll join us remotely. Cam, he's got some interesting things going on at the moment, and a couple of things I want to chat to him about. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And Ryan and I are trying, should we throw it out there to, shout out to what we spoke about this week? I mean, we're thinking, we want to add a bit to the show. We don't want to change for the sake of changing. And Ryan actually said, well, if we're going to do that, we need to actually ask our audience what they think.
I think so. We might as well put it out there. I mean, we got all our usual suspects joining us again this afternoon: Andrew Evans, Leon Viljoen, Marcel Smit, Al McCauley from Canada, Janet Klutti. All our loyal supporters. Can't not mention Kutsa Maruma from Lesotho's Pride watching us and joining us. And we might as well get their ideas on this.
Yeah,
look, planning.
All right, so Ryan and I are quite big advocates of the live. We enjoy the live because we're doing the show anyway. So we're either going to sit here with the cameras on and speaking as we're speaking now, or it's live, it's out there. But, everyone that is watching now, to all these loyal supporters of ours, please, please, please go across to your podcast audio app of choice, because our audio downloads is our sort of bread and butter. And we don't want to take away from the audio downloads. So audio over the last... When did it start to kick up? It was about November last year.
About then, yeah.
It really kicked up nicely. And then a lot of the advice I get is that, if you're doing the video, you're taking away from the audio. The point is, we're not exactly doing this for the money. So we do it because people seem to enjoy it. We enjoy it a hell of a lot.
Of course.
And the most important thing, like what Lando Norris said in that interview, is that if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to last.
Exactly.
So we love the live. We want to keep the live going. We want to engage with the audience. My original idea was to say, well, why don't we have an extra show where we just engaging? And then it kind of became, Ryan sort of said, well, you realize I'm having another child in a couple of weeks' time. so you got to be realistic with these things.
Yeah.
But it's a nice conversation nonetheless. And if you watch what's happening out there with other podcasts, I mean, Gareth Cliff is still live. Gareth is a bit of a legend in the space. But a lot of other podcasters not doing the live gig. They record the audio bit and that gets sent out. But do you want to, I think, to make everyone watching us here aware what we're doing on the audio version, because we do something a little extra.
Yeah. So on the audio version, if you listen to that right to the end, you'll notice we sign off on the show normally, and then straight after that we do like an extra 5, 10, maybe
shutdown checklist.
The shutdown checklist.
Chocks and breaks.
Yeah, and we kind of just talk a bit more the very next day after the show about what the show was about. And I don't know, for some other reason, that little extra 10 minutes the next morning is such a joy.
Yeah, obviously now we finish work in the afternoon. We do this so that the engagement, hopefully a few more people can watch. And then Ryan and I do our traditional, we go and have 3 or 4 beers after the show. And then the next day we think, geez, I wish I had said this. I should have said that.
Yeah.
And then we have the shutdown checklist where we have a bit of a roundup of the episode. How do you think it went? Like a bit of a review. So some evidence-based training going on after.
Come back the next morning with a bit more wisdom.
Yeah. And what's quite cool with that with me, I don't know about you, Ryan, but if there's oftentimes I feel like saying something, I feel like giving a shout out to someone and I forget.
Yes.
And then you feel like an idiot for the entire week. Now you only have to feel like an idiot for a few hours. You come and you do that shutdown checklist. Bit of a review for us. We tied it nicely. And that's only on the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to that audio. So please go across there. Make sure you're subscribed and give it a try. Obviously the uptick of the audio came about when people started going back to work. So realize a lot of people like sort of watching the video, don't want to take that away. But the bread and butter at the moment is that audio. So please check it out.
Yeah. Look, I think the idea as well is we spoke about, shooting this live and then just having an engagement segment afterwards, because like Caroline Cole says, keep the live video. Without that, we would be lost in expression.
Caroline came to visit us at the Sim Center the other day.
Yeah, you mentioned
so. You weren't here. You weren't leave for a change.
Yeah.
But it was. That's what makes this show so cool.
Yes,
because you're able to make those connections you wouldn't have had. Caroline came, showed her around the center. We're actually hopefully going to do a bit of a collab with a few things, some ideas she's got with some of her students at some point, get them across here. Awesome. And it was so nice.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she says, why we love the live vibe. So it's not going anywhere. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
But we'd like to do a few extra things along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Leon says, I watch the live and then go and listen to the shutdown checklist on Fridays. Leon, don't just listen to the shutdown. Watch it from start to finish, because every one of those view time counts here, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And cool. Then Andrea, audio is great. You can get it 1.25 speed. I laughed at my mom one day. She said, yes, because she watches every show. She watches every show. And then she wanted to ask me why, it wasn't the best show. And she said, why were you guys speaking so fast? It was on 2 times speed or something. So check that out.
Oh no, that can be quite confusing. But look, great to hear from Al today again as well. He weighed in on that. He said most modern airlines operate on a dual dispatch. My experience in Canada is that the dispatchers are well qualified and a superb resource, which adds a huge value to the live decision-making process.
In Canada, Al.
Yeah. Africa is another story.
Yeah.
But it's so great to have all this engagement, and the guys join us this afternoon. And
I still love this, man.
Yeah,
we're gonna carry on.
Ever. Yeah.
Should we tell people the 1 week we're gonna take off?
Yeah, we might as well make it official now, unless things change. I don't know. It's a bit dicey.
It might change. Okay, it won't. But we there's one show where we might have to take a break because Ryan's having a bambino.
Yeah.
So it's a decent excuse.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how that goes. It's yeah, like I said, things are a little bit unpredictable, but we'll let you know when that happens.
Yeah,
In the meantime, I've got something from Simon Sinek.
go ahead.
The opportunity for creativity begins the moment we don't know what we're doing.
That's a good place to end the show.
100%.
Thanks, Paul.
Catch you later.
Cheers.
Ciao.